Grand Rising. It is such an honor to be here today, this morning with all of you, or actually it could be afternoon, depending on where in the world you are watching. It is truly an honor to be here to talk about mindfulness, meditation, and manifestation for many reasons. So first, thank you for the introduction. I am Dr. Denise Christina Vido. I am a cannabis epidemiologist here at the University of Miami, School of Nursing and Health Studies, and I also conduct research in the School of Medicine. All of my research is focused on trying to improve human health through plant medicine or through natural remedies. One of the latest things that I've been incorporating into my science is how the human brain impacts human health. So I want to make sure that I hold space before I start going into our conversation today to let you know a little bit about me and as to why I think that it is a great time to always remain in beast flow. Beast flow is something that I've kind of created as a coin of something of myself here. But hopefully by the end of this conversation that we have, you too would want to always remain in what I call beast flow. So to start off, I want to give you a little bit of background of myself. Normally, when people hear about mindfulness or meditation, you are either of one of two schools of thought. You are either automatically like, oh, I'm not ready. I can't turn off my mind. Why would I turn off my mind? And I have to admit to you, that was me as well. When I started hearing about meditation and mindfulness, just for disclosure, I am a very passionate Puerto Rican female who is very type A, always on the move. So I never imagined that being mindful or meditation was something that my brain could physically do. So I always like to start off with that because I just want that if you don't listen to anything else I say today, just remember that literally you were built to take time to be mindful. You have everything you need right now with you. There's nothing else you need but yourself to get into that state of mind and to be clear. We are in the middle of a pandemic, and I know that probably we're all tired of hearing that, but that is actually one of the reasons that got me really deep into my consistent practice. And the reason why I share that with you is because we just finished hearing about Texas. We know what's going on in the world. It seems to be there's always something, right? And especially if you come from a certain community. And at times, our hearts are always ready to take action and to help. But what I've learned as an epidemiologist, especially amid one can argue, the most historic global pandemic in the history of this world, without your mind, you're nothing. And so that's why I want to really dig deep with this. So before you do anything, before you move forward, as you just saw me do, a great thing to do before starting anything is to just take a deep breath out. So what I would like all of you to do with me together is I would like you to breathe in for one breath. I'm not even asking for a long period of breath, but just breathe in for 1 second and let out the air hard, like as if like you're almost well, first of all, let's refrain. We're in the middle of a pandemic. So if you are not in a safe place that with proper protocols, don't breathe out hard. But if you are in a place that you can, for example, I'm in my office with no other people, I will be breathing out. So I just have to have that caveat as the epidemiologist. But nonetheless, even with your masks on, if you have them, I would like all of us to take one moment, to take 1 second in, and we're going to breathe out for 2. All right, so let's do this collectively. We breathe in for 1. Hold it. Breathe out for 2. Now, that small, one could argue that small practice is a tool that you can start whenever you feel like you might be getting a little stressed. And I always start talks like that because you need to have this oxygen in your lungs, to start moving anything or being mindful. Why I became interested in meditation is because when I was, I have lupus, and I want to share this. I know everyone's looking, watching this here, and I want to share this story with you. Number one, I have lupus. I am living with that, and I'm healing myself. But when the pandemic came, one could argue that those with compromised immune systems were at a larger risk of transmission and the negative health outcomes. So in the past year, I've rebuilt myself, although I've always meditated per se, or been mindful. And I say meditated because there's layers to this. There's levels to meditation, right? But I would say that why I talk about meditation and mindfulness so much is because I strongly believe and know that that saved my life. And that's why I would like to share these tools with you all, so that especially in the middle of this pandemic, or for those of you who may be in Texas or anywhere in the Midwest where it may seem like everything in the world is out of control, just know you are exactly where you're supposed to be. You have everything inside of you to be centered, and that's what you can control. And when you are sick and when you're going through multiple illnesses, and I don't know who in the audience may be going through this, so if any of you by chance now are not feeling well, just know that your brain, your cells regenerate scientifically over a period of time. And by being mindful and really taking the time to relax, you are de-stressing your body. And when you de-stress your body, you wind up actually improving your health, not only mentally, but physically. And there's science that can back that up. All right. So I'll stop with my science discussions now because I always like to add that. But I just want to make sure it's clear that we are not just talking about some type of, woo-woo in your mind, positive affirmations. That is not what this is that we're talking. All right. So now what are we talking about here? Mindfulness is just one of three of these key things that I think of when I talk about trying to get your mind right, right? When I talk about beast flow meditation, we often hear, oh, beast mode, and that's kind of like the emotion to keep going no matter what, the aggressive forward action, right? But it's not healthy to remain in beast mode all the time. And I'm speaking to myself here. I don't know who else is speaking to themselves or if I'm speaking to anyone. But for me, I realized very quickly that it's not okay to be beast mode all the time. So then that's when I created this idea of beast flow. In meditation, we talk about this idea of flow state, of having this sense of oneness, of, homeostasis almost, right? Bliss. Not to say that you're always happy or that you're sad, but just a sense of balance. Well, one of the ways we do that is going through these three steps. So mindfulness is the first of three. It's mindfulness, meditation, and then manifestation. And I learned these three from someone called Emily Fletcher from Ziva Meditation. And that is what I actually incorporated into what we call Beast Flow. So what is mindfulness? That's what we're going to be focusing on today. Mindfulness is getting into the present moment. So time is really, what is time? I encourage all of you to dig deep and look at what really is time. What's the definition of time? Whose time, right? So when we think about time, we think about being in the present moment rather than the past, because if you think about what happened even 2 minutes ago when I introduced myself, that's gone. It's no longer a reality. The only thing that is true is this moment in time right now. So there's no sense in dwelling in what's already gone. There's no sense in dwelling of what's to come if you're not taking the time to be mindful. All right. And I'm going to give you some tools on how to do that in a second. I just want to explain the overall premise of these three M's. So once you're in the state of mindfulness, which being present and not, worrying about the future or the past, mindful, being present, then, and then only then can you start thinking of, all right, let's take it into the meditative state. So meditation is not just sitting quiet for 2 minutes. It could be depending on the level that you have. But when I think about meditation, I think of meditation as a process in which you are present, but you're kind of stepping outside of yourself. And we're going to, again, go through a small practice here shortly. So again, that's meditation. One key note to keep in mind when it comes to meditation is you don't have to subscribe to the belief that all of your thoughts are gone. Your heart beats just like your mind thinks. I got that from Emily Fletcher. I'm going to say that again because that changed my life. Listen to these words that I say, please. Your heart beats just like your mind thinks. Can you stop your heart from beating right now? Don't do it. I don't want anything bad to happen. But let's just really think about that. If you're sitting here right now and I want to try to make my heart stop, I really would have to physically spend a lot of time. That's the same thing with your mind. Why would you purposely beat yourself up because you're thinking of something when you're meditating? Guess what? Your mind is doing what it's supposed to do. And I think that for any of you in the audience who are hesitant about thinking about meditation or mindfulness or any of these three M's, I just want you to understand that there is no right or wrong, because at the end of the day, the whole reason we're doing this is to improve ourselves. And much like medicine, we have what's called precision medicine. I strongly believe it's the same thing with meditation. Every person, every human is different. All right. So if anyone has disenfranchised your mind to assume that you cannot meditate unless you have no thoughts, I want to let you know now that you can remove that from your spirit. Okay. And I say that you do, I'm not going to go, but we can talk more. Feel free to reach out to me if you'd like some more tips about that. And then finally, we have the last M, which is manifestation. And manifestation. That gives me life. And it gives me life because it shows me that my mindfulness and meditation is working, so that when I am manifesting, it's just like, thank you, right? So we won't be talking too much about how to manifest at this time. So we're going to be focusing the most on mindfulness. But I just want to be clear that there's levels to this, and there's different times in which you could use things depending on when you need it most. So practical, what are some tools? So just in case something happens, if you want to learn more, also feel free to follow me on Instagram at Dr. Vito. I was going to say at drvito.org, but it's a website. But on Instagram, you can find me at Dr. Vidot. And there I share a lot of meditation techniques. You can often find me by someone's ocean. And I say someone, but I'm in Florida. So it'll be Florida Ocean, being mindful or meditating. So for some tools, here we go. I'm excited. Y'all excited? I can't hear you, but I'm sure all of you are. So here we go. So the first thing I'd like to think of as far as a practical tool is, let's think of, for example, this, our next talk is going to be actually about helping children cope during the pandemic, right? So let's think about adults. How can adults cope during this pandemic, right? So thinking of, let's say a personal experience for me, I'm actively conducting COVID-19 research. So at times, when I'm looking or interviewing study participants about their cannabis consumption or anything, sometimes I get, overwhelmed when I hear of the heartbreak or the illnesses. I'm human, we're human, right? So what I usually do at that moment in time is I take a time, sometimes even with the study participant, depending on how far, it just depends. But at that time, what I would do is I would just think in that moment when I feel myself getting to a level of, I may not be able to think straight because of my emotional status or something. I then stop. And this is something I do quickly in my mind because I'm so used to it, but you may need to stop a little longer. But I stop and I think of a little puppy. Yeah, don't judge me. But I think of a little puppy. And I think of that puppy and I think of how would I talk to this puppy? How does this puppy feel? If I'm stressed out and this little baby puppy, first of all, I say puppy because I love animals. So some could argue, let's think of a little baby, depending if you are against animals. So whatever you think of is something small and innocent and fresh and pure, right? Imagine that and think of, how is my reaction impacting this baby or this puppy? So when I feel that I'm going to get stressed and I see that I have this quote unquote vulnerable thing in front of me and in my mind, I think of, how can I engage so that I'm not, being stressful? So that's what I do. So I think of the puppy, I think, okay. And then all of a sudden, immediately, I think, how can I be mad at a little baby or a little puppy? And one could argue we can always, but in this instance, that's one example. The next example I can also think of is breath work, because sometimes people, when you're stressed, you don't want to visualize anything. And I respect that. And we're going to hold space for that. So if you're in a time instance to where maybe you don't feel that you have the capacity to think about anything, then I automatically activate my 2x breath. So here you start out, the way it works is you breathe in for 2, or breathe in for a certain amount. You can do whatever is good for you. And then you double the exhale. So for example, we started off this call today with a 1 breath in and a 2 breath out. Typically, depending on my level of stress, I go up in a ladder. So I'll start off with a 1 breath in, 2 breaths out, then go up 2, 3, up to 4 in, 8 out. And usually by then, if I haven't kind of halfway passed out from breathing so hard, I also am calmer and I'm mindful. I'm in the present moment. because that's really what the purpose is. It's to remind you to be in the present moment. Because most often when we're stressed out about something, it's because we're either thinking of the past or thinking of the future. If we're thinking about the right now, literally, then technically there's nothing that can go wrong. Right now, in the right now, I'm sitting here, I am safe. I am in my office. I have sage, I put sage, I sprayed. So these are things that I think of. What am I really stressed out about? And that keeps me mindful. Another thing that I do when I feel that I could be getting a little stressed out and I want to remain mindful is I do some visualization activities, and I think of my senses. So this, again, I got from Ziva Meditation, and we kind of blended it a little and remixed it to make it ours, to make it more applicable to Beast Flow. But one thing that you can also do is thinking about your senses. So we all have 5 senses, right? So when you're stressed or when you're in the process of trying to become mindful, and this is something I love to do. So I know all of us are alumni at the University of Miami. If you're here for the reunion, so welcome, right? The lake, we all know the lake. That is the best place for me to just take 2 seconds to be mindful. And often in between classes, you'll see me there doing that. And I do that because there is a great place that I'm in with nature. And I can feel it's easier for me to get in with my senses. So for the actual practical tool, how does it work? Here we go. So you start off, you sit down in a comfortable position. So I'm here sitting, I'm pretty cozy. Then what I would do if I was going through this is I would go through each of my 5 senses in the sense of where I am. I would do this with my eyes closed. I'm going to have my eyes open just because I'm communicating. Well, I guess I could close it. But I'd have my eyes closed. I'd be sitting there. I'd probably start off with a 2x breath. So in for 2, out for 4. And then I will start thinking of each senses. So what am I smelling? And in fact, let's go ahead and work on that. Let's do that. Let's do that right now. I was going to go through the 3x breath with you, but let's go through coming to senses. All right. So the way this is going to work is we're going to get in a comfortable position. So here I am sitting Indian style. My legs are crossed. I keep my hands however I want them. Just know that you don't have to be that's not the only way to meditate, okay? You could literally meditate while you're walking. There's different schools of thought, but I just want you to know there's no set way to be sitting. I personally like to sit with my legs crossed because it's comfortable for me. I personally like to leave my hands on my lap, and I leave them with them. Before, I used to just keep them on my lap, just hanging out there like that. But now I keep them open with my hands up when I sit in my lap. And the reason why is because most often than not, when I'm visualizing to relax, I'm also visualizing bright white light coming to me and surrounding me with protection and immunity against any kind of illness, right? And so since I'm picturing that, I like to have my hands open because in my mind, I'm visualizing that source energy coming into my hands. All right. And my hands is what I work with. And this is what, so that's just my reason why I keep my palms up. There's lots of schools of thought of how you can sit or how you sit. So that's that. So when you're sitting, you're relaxed, you've gone through your 2x breath. So now we're going to go through it together, and I'm going to have my eyes closed probably, but opening it, and we'll see how it goes. All right. So get in a comfortable position. Breathe in for 1. And I breathed out for 2. I really want to do a 4, but I'm not going to because then I might fall out. But anyway, I'm breathing in again just because I'm talking too much. So now what you could do is picture yourself sitting by the lake at the University of Miami in the heart of campus with the beautiful fountain. The water is coming out. There's diamonds of water falling into the lake. Just there so all of the hurricanes can watch and take that energy and move it with them. I can hear, using my sense of hearing, I can hear the water of the fountain hitting the water. I am sitting right in front of the student center with my back against the palm tree, right in front of the lake. So not only do I hear the water falling into the lake, but I hear little chatter of people talking, but they have masks on, so it's a little muffled, but I hear talking. Okay. Beautiful. What do I smell? I smell the fish in the water. I smell nature. I smell cut grass because our campus is always so beautiful and always cut and fresh. I appreciate that smell. I smell a little bit of water. I know water doesn't have a smell, but this is what I feel. All right. So I hear the fountain. I hear the water. I hear the students. I smell nature. I smell the lake. Oh, I just heard a fish jump because you know they like to jump. What do I see? Well, my eyes are closed. My eyes are closed. Do I see colors with my eyes closed? I don't personally. Right now, I just see blackness. But I still hear. I hear the fish. I can kind of see light through my eyes. All right. What do I taste? What do I taste right now? I taste toothpaste. I haven't eaten yet today. I'm fasting. All right. So toothpaste is still there. That's what's up. What do I feel? I don't know what I feel. I feel the palm tree against my back. I feel a little bit of wind against my skin. I feel at ease. I feel a little stressed because I'm still hearing things. I still see things, but I don't see anything because my eyes are closed. But I'm here. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be in this moment in time. It doesn't matter literally what's going on next to me because in this moment in time, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. I have everything I need. If I don't have what I need, then I have the ability to communicate. I have the ability to communicate to find what I need or to find out what's the next step to get to what I need. Oh, I feel so great to know that. Whatever I'm stressed about right now, whatever's going on, my family in Texas, my family in the Midwest, whatever's happening in the world, it's all good. Because right now, I got the lake. I'm at the University of Miami. The water is pure. The fish are jumping. And in this moment in time, it is all good. Then at this time usually is when I notice a bright white light. Because once I come to terms with the fact that I'm mindful and that I'm okay where I am, then can I welcome peace. How can one be at peace when there's so much disarray from within? How can one grow forward and move forward when you can't see straight or think straight? How can you help others? How can you help yourself? You can't, at least not well. So here, usually at this time is when I stop with the mindfulness and I'm in present moment. I have all my senses awake and ready. Now I am open to say, I am ready to accept the extreme amount of peace and bright white light of protection, or whatever it is that you need at that moment. Usually for me, it's protection. Just protection, right? So here is when I welcome. Thank you so much. It depends on what your divinity is. I personally believe in angels and ancestors, and I usually listen to Native American warrior music, right? So at that time, I'm thinking, and I'm just like, hello, ancestors. What's up? How are you? I'm here. Hello, angels. What's up? I'm here. Thank you. I'm here to welcome your protection, and I'm ready to go. And this is where beast flow comes in. So once I'm mindful, once I've absorbed the protection, once I've been grateful for the understanding that I have everything I need at this moment in time and that I have the capability to get what I don't need eventually by communicating, then I get into beast flow and find out what are my next 3 actions. So it's not okay to just rely, or let me not say it's not okay. When I meditate and be mindful, especially due to a stressor, I don't like to just be released and then feel great and then keep moving, because what's going to happen is it's not sustainable, right? So if I just stop, like right now, if I were to just stop the meditate or the mindfulness activity and then go to another activity, it won't be as great because I didn't figure out how to remedy what put me in that situation in the first place, right? So for using back that example of being in a high stress situation with, let's say talking to potential exposure to COVID, for example, what I would do is the way to become a beast in this is, all right, why was I stressed? Because once you're in the mindset of really understanding that you're here and now, once you have that feeling of protection, I honestly feel like I have superpower after that, because I know that I'm at one with myself, and any kind of decisions that I'm going to make after that are at least more clear than they were before I became mindful. And that's so important, especially as we age and are responsible for other people, right? So one example of something that I would do is for the next steps is that I would say, all right, so the next time today, because it's probably going to happen in 10 minutes, who knows? The next time that I feel or I get triggered by XYZ, what steps can I take? And in my mind, I'll be like, oh, okay, I have a menu. I have a menu of options, right? So I'll be like, oh, do I want to be mindful? Do I want to do the 2X breath? Do I want to do the come to my senses? Do I want to go for a walk just to be mindful actively? Because sometimes you're just so stressed that sitting down may actually stress you out. And that's me. That's me. So you often will see me walking around the loop of lake just there for that reason. So in closing, I just wanted to bring us back to center. Number one, to again, thank you so much, because if you've made it this far to this presentation, that means that you're open enough to learn about mindfulness. So I appreciate you for that. Number one, thank you. I also want to remind you all that everyone is different. So the way that I meditate or the way that I become mindful may not work for you. But what is not okay is for you to just say, oh, that's not going to work, so I'm not going to do it. We're too grown for this. If you're on this call, you are an alumni. We are no longer chilling at the Rat. We are no longer, all day just sitting at the Rock. No, it's time to grow. It's no longer a time to say, forget my feelings. No, I've got to go move forward. That was me, y'all. And for those who I know who are watching this, you know who Denise, how I was, in undergrad or whatever the situation is. But the point is that we evolve through time. And in our evolution of time, it is okay to rebrand your code. And my code is, in order for me to always, one of my favorite quotes of all time is, fatigue makes cowards of us all. I'm going to say that again. Fatigue makes cowards of us all. And the person that I know says that is Vince Lombardi. I'm an extreme football fan. Like, football is everything to me, really, right? But I really know that from Jimmy Johnson, right? Jimmy Johnson, one of my favorite coaches of all time, even though Vince Lombardi said it. Fatigue makes cowards of us all. So you know how I refrain from being fatigued? Because I don't know about you, but I'm not trying to be a coward, right? So to refrain from being a coward, this is what I do. I am a vegan. I meditate every day without fail, every day, at least for 10 minutes in the morning. And I also make sure that everything in my life is in a healthy aspect, because being mindful is great, but having your holistic environment not in a way that is to promote your growth, then it's just going to be a little harder. All right. So please remember the 3 M's: mindfulness, meditation, manifestation. Please remember that you have everything that you need already inside of you to be successful and to be at ease. And even, especially when it doesn't feel that way, that's even more of a reason to remember who you are, where you came from. And remember, again, not sure how all of you feel, but for me, when I'm stressed out and when I feel that I can't go forward, I know that I have my ancestors, I have my angels, I have myself. All right? And that's all we have. Your mind thinks just like your heart beats. Your mind thinks just like your heart beats. You can't close your thoughts. Don't try. Instead, work through them. Please. Okay? So with that, I just want to say thank you again for your time. Feel free to follow me on Instagram at drdr.vidot. You'll see me often around the lake. And also on Mondays, normally, not today, but normally on Mondays, I host a mindfulness walk around the lake for students and staff and faculty if you're free. So anyone who is cleared to be on campus in a legal way and, through the protocols, feel free to message me on Instagram because we do have that together. And I would love to teach you because this practice saved my life. All right. So I just want to say thank you again so much. Coming up next, we have a break. We have Alana Smith, who is a school psychologist. And I love her topic, considering what we just talked about. But she's going to be talking about 7 practical social and emotional learning strategies for parents to help our kids cope during the pandemic. I have a 9-year-old, and she's currently not coping as well as I would think. So I'm looking forward to that. So everyone, thank you so much. And remember, go Canes. Love you all very much. See you later.